Real Estate Recovery Group. As always, I got my co-host Lee M. Perlman, ESQ. And tonight we got a very special guest. I'm super excited to have him on. But before we get into it, this young's name is Bryce McKinley. Hold on one second, guys. We'll be right back.
Guys, this week on Live, May 19th, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, our very special guest is Bryce McKinley. You're going to want to tune in as Bryce is going to be talking about how real estate literally saved his life.
What's going on, you guys? Bryce McKinley, Coach Sharpen. You know what time it is. What is going on, Real Estate Recovery Group? Hey, I'm excited to be on the show here coming up in a few days. The reason I'm excited is because just like this group, how we help people and recover their assets and recover different properties and things like that, real estate actually helped me recover. I went from homeless to hundreds of millions of dollars in transactions, and I'm
What's going on, guys? We are now back, and I'm really excited to have Bryson on the show. Lee, obviously, I'm always excited to have you on. Bryce, tell everybody, say hello and tell people what you're all about.
Dude, first and foremost, thank you guys for having me on your show. I love your intro. I'm all about energy, and that thing just got me jacked. So if you guys are watching this and you don't know who I am, my name is Bryce McKinley. I'm an international keynote speaker, motivational speaker, real estate coach, mentor. But first and foremost, I'm a dad and a husband. My son, 10-year-old, hashtag the middle school millionaire. He's raised $20+ million for the homeless and battered youth shelters here in Dallas by knocking on doors, creating a funnel, and marketing himself. And so if you're in a place to where maybe you're just getting started in your business, or maybe you're at a level to where you need to go to the next level, you want to make sure that you stick around, because I don't claim to know everything, but I do know what it takes. I've been hired by Tony Robbins and Les Brown, Matt and Caleb Maddox, Ty Lopez, Kent Clothier, just to name a few. And I know what it takes. I don't know everything, but I do know what it takes to be successful. I've been super blessed with some of these God-given talents and abilities, and I'm excited to be here. So thank you, Lee. Thank you, Matt, for having me.
Oh, it's our pleasure.
So you've been doing some massive stuff for the last 20 years. If anybody actually hasn't read the information in your bio that we put in from the beginning of the show, they should definitely check that out. But you got a pretty extensive list of people that you've worked with: Ford, Nissan, Tyco, ADT. Transforming and helping people focus on their industry and actually making themselves better. Then also from the real estate side, you've done over 8,000 transactions in real estate. But one thing that I love, and this was why I wanted you on the show, we were in a clubhouse room. We were on stage together in a clubhouse. I don't know how many people were in the room. At one point, there must have been about 50 or 60 people. Dude, you literally shifted the whole room with your whole mind shift, and the story that you told was so insane. People were crying. So, I mean, I would say to date right now, between last year and right now, I'm just going to say, Lee, he's probably the most powerful guest we've ever had come on the show. Whereas you talk about being homeless and going and basically, getting involved in multi-million dollars, doing real estate and just rocking it. We're going to extend tonight. We usually run for about a half hour. I already know we're going to go over. So forget all the questions for right now. Bryce, tell people Can you tell people your story? Will you tell people your story? Because I think that's really important. I don't want to put you on the spot, but I feel like I need to.
Yeah, I love that. And thank you for that, Matt. You know, for me, it's always an honor because I feel like, you know, in the speaking world, it's said often that your mess is your message. And I believe that your test is your testimony. And so, you know, I grew up south side of Chicago, like 87th and Halstead, like, Matt, you know that area. It's rough. And, you know, I grew up in a very strict cult-like religion, and my parents like beat in my head, you got to be at church 9 days out of the week and 10 times on Sunday. And then one day everything shifted. My parents were going through a divorce. My mom moved into the projects. My dad moved outside. And I didn't know anything other than go to church 9, 10 times a day, like a week. That was the life that I lived. And then, so here's this little church boy, goody two-shoes in the eyes of society, that didn't have a clue as to what the real world had to offer. And I was stuck trying to figure life out. And so the fact that I have the opportunity to share my story with you, someone watching this tonight, that tells me that one of you or some of you are going through some things. So make sure that you pay attention, because by the end of this live stream, not only will I provide you with a whole ton of value, or at least I'll try my best, but I want to encourage you and inspire you that your test is your testimony. Your door in front of you is not necessarily closed. It's just standing there waiting for you to step through. And so, considering where I grew up, my parents being very poor and not having very much formal education, I had to adapt and shift and hustle really fast. And I learned to do that by following and watching others, taking what they do, learning from their mistakes, and doing it better. Unfortunately, the crowd that I had surrounded myself with by the age of 17 was a pretty rough one. I was facing 2 counts of manslaughter, conspiracy and drug trafficking charges. I had been shot twice and stabbed 5 times. So while that may not resonate with you, it may with others. And it taught me a very valuable lesson in business that I would later find out down the road, and we'll get to that in just a bit. But the moment that the gavel came down and my cases were dismissed, I had an uncle that cared about me, grabbed me by my ear and was like, "You're going to come stay with me." And so I moved over to my uncle's house in Davenport, Iowa. I'm detailing cars, and I fell in love with the automotive industry. I started watching nice cars and trucks be sold and people making nice money. And I'm like, if I can hustle in the hood, I sure as heck can hustle in the cornfield, Iowa, right? So I begged my uncle for a shot. I begged him for an opportunity. I said, I'll do whatever it takes. You got to be willing to do whatever it takes. As my friend Les Brown would say, you got to be hungry. And I was hungry. And so it was a cold, snowy December afternoon, a week before my birthday, which is Christmas Eve. If you want to send me some love, feel free. Yes, I'm a Capricorn. It's amazing. But it was a cold, snowy December afternoon. And he's like, "Son, if you can sell a car today, I'll put you on the floor next week." Done. What did I do? There's no car salesman around, 2 or 3 of the shop guys in the back. I pulled out a phone book and I started dialing. I just started calling. I didn't know what I was doing, but I took action. You see, one thing that my son has taught me in the last 10 years is that the gun that killed the most people is the gunna. Some of you are gonna get started and you just need a little bit more information. Some of you gonna do this and you're gonna do that, but you're gonna be stuck if you don't just take action. And I learned that lesson very early. I just took action, and wouldn't you know, that very first day in the middle of a snowstorm with no other salesmen showing up, I sold 3 cars. My uncle put me on the team the next week, introduced me to everyone. I got a standing ovation. It was great. But I felt like I still had more to do. There was more work to be done. I took that first step, but there was more work to be done. And so I would then go to not only excel and become the #1 car salesman in the dealership and in the metro area, in the region, and in the state. I would become, in the next 2 to 2.5 years, the number one car salesman in the world representing Ford Motor Company at national competitions. And when I say national competitions, I'm referring to a process and a program that they have for their dealers. And nobody's ever been there to this program twice. I've been there 4 times. I won this competition 2 times, and I placed second 2 times. I was super blessed. By the age of 22, 23, I was recruited out of my dealership, traveling the world with Ford Motor Company, teaching my very simple 5-step process to sales and persuasion and my 7 steps to business. I would later find out that same method that I learned growing up selling dope and gangbanging and selling cars would apply to everything in business. It's very simple. I'm sure we'll talk about that. But that's not what got me here. You see, one thing that I had to learn was that you don't go to opportunities, you grow to opportunities. And, Matt mentioned that in Clubhouse, the room where we formally met, was someone had asked about having a mindset and what mindset do you have to overcome and be successful. I learned early on from my very first mentor that I no longer needed a mindset, but I needed to have a mind shift. I had to constantly be changing and adapting and conforming to not only what was in front of me, but what was ahead of me. And I learned that lesson through a series of unfortunate events. In 2006, my wife at the time had lost a baby and started battling drugs and alcohol. In 2008, because of that battle with depression, she ended up taking her life on Friday, June 13th of 2008. And between Friday, June 13th of 2008 and March 17th of 2010, I would lose my absolute marbles. Close to $80 million, 5 companies up my nose and in a bottle. I was broken. I was beat up, hurt, heartached, and whatever else you could imagine, every other F-bomb involved there. And then I found out that I had a baby on the way. This girl that I had been dating, and not really dating, just messing around with, we had a baby on the way. And that would be the first shift of the rest of my life. I sobered up in March of 2010. By November, he was born. By January, I had multiple 7- and 8-figure contracts again. I could do it again. But I found out she had never sobered up. She was still popping pills and smoking coke and doing whatever. And I came home one day to her laid out on the bed, pills all over. And here is our little baby boy, a couple months old, rolling around and crying in a ample amount of pills. I picked him up. I packed a bag. I went to the ER to make sure that he was okay. We checked into a hotel. And that Monday morning, I would start the custody battle of my life. The last couple $100,000 I had in the bank that I had saved up, that I hadn't squandered yet, went into fighting for custody of my boy. Through the drama, I would go to lose those contracts that I had just recently secured. And I ended up sleeping in my car for a little over 9 months. I was homeless, single dad, depressed, didn't know what to do. And I'll never forget, it was September 28, 2011. And so this year, it'll be 10 years to the day in September when I wrote a letter to my boy. I wrote a letter to my mom and said, I just can't do it anymore. The same 40 cal that sits next to my bed tonight, Matt, same 40 cal Lee has never jammed before, has never jammed since. But that night, it jammed 3 times in my mouth. And that was the moment. I like to call it my ignite moment. I've got a book coming out with a collaboration of authors in like 2 weeks. But that was my ignite moment. That was the moment I realized that this wasn't about me. It was about who I was showing up and being instead of just doing. Because a lot of us humans, we go through life just doing things to be successful, being or lacking the fact that we're human beings and not human doings. And so I started showing up for myself. I put my own oxygen mask on and realized if I couldn't take care of myself, I couldn't take care of anybody else. And so I had that mind shift. And now, fast forward 10 years, I found wholesaling real estate. I found the love of my life. I've been married now happily for 3 years. My son has done $20+ million over the last couple of years in his business for kids and coaching. And I've just been blessed beyond my wildest dreams. And I can't thank nobody but the man upstairs and a little bit of talent that he's given myself. And so that is the tenacity in which I come forward and talk about my business, my mission, my mind shift. And so with that said, man, I'm excited to dig in here, Matt. Thank you for letting me share my story. And if you're watching this, just know it's not over. If you're still got breath, you've got opportunity. Quit talking about what you're going to do and just start getting to it. I can't hear you.
Can you hear me?
There you go, Lee. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I read a little bit of your bio, and tonight's the first night we're getting a chance to talk to one another. But I mean, your story is beyond remarkable. I've never really heard anything like it. It's fascinating. And your level of enthusiasm and where you've been able to take your business, it's a testament to your work ethic and where you come from and your grit. It's really cool. Really cool. Yeah.
I got some thick skin. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Matt, can we hear you?
I can't hear you, Matt.
Yeah, we can't hear Matt. Well, listen, can we talk a little bit about the specifics of the real estate? Understand a little bit about you and your wholesaling and how you got started in that? I think everybody would want to learn a little bit about that.
Yeah, for sure. I appreciate that. So I found real estate really by accident.
What a tragedy. Lee, can you hear me?
I can hear you. He's frozen.
I know.
Yeah. Oh, God.
Hopefully he'll come back.
What an incredible story. It's unbelievable.
Now you know why I didn't want to talk to you about it beforehand. Because you were like, hey, this guy seems really interesting. He's very interesting, and he's a really nice guy.
And what a coup to get him on the show. How fantastic.
Yeah. I mean, listen, he was naming some big players that he's friends with. I mean, I've met a couple of them, but he's actually friendly with them. So, this is a real special treat. So hopefully we can get him back on, and hopefully this stream will cooperate. All right, he'll be back. I got to move into a studio at this point, I think.
What are you going to do now?
I don't know. I think I'm going to have to ask NBC or ABC or CBS or any of those big channels. They got to pick me up now.
Are you cutting the show tonight?
No.
When is he he's still frozen.
Yeah, I know. I'm hoping the guy comes back. I really wanted to get this thing worked out for this week. But hopefully the service that he mentioned, hopefully that'll be a better service.
Yeah.
All these services are proven to be garbage now.
We should do a test run maybe in the middle of the week. Yeah. Yeah, we can just pick somebody in our network and BS with them for 10 minutes and see how it goes.
Right. Yeah, no, 100%. We're gonna have to do some testing because we're definitely gonna have some heavy hitters come on there now. So I don't know.
Yeah, no, you're working hard to set people up, and his personal story and professional story my mouth was wide open listening to it.
No, I know, 100%. And somebody just texted me. I can't believe you got Bryce to come on your show. Thanks. All right. Hoping he can jump back on. Let me ask if maybe he can pull out and come back on again. What do you think about logging out and then going back on? Oh, he can hear us and see us. Okay, I told him to log off and come back on again.
All right.
Hopefully that'll work. Yeah, this is ridiculous. And I don't know if it's an internet service issue.
Bryce McKinley joined.
Oh, here it is. He's back.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
It's a freaking miracle.
I could hear and see you guys the whole time. I'm like, I don't understand. What are you talking about?
Dude, you were like this. You were like this. You were like this.
I know,
You're like,
it was a beautiful thing.
And the crazy thing, Bryce, we're hanging on every word, and this is what's going on. It's nuts.
Look at God. He's kind of crazy like that sometimes.
I guess he didn't like. I guess he didn't like the where we were headed. But anyway, so I don't even know where the hell we left off.
Yeah, we were talking about how you got started in wholesaling, and then you froze up.
Yeah. So I think what it was when you did that last shift, it like kicked everything kind of haywire. So let's just leave it like this and go, because I can hear you, I can see you. Like, we good?
Now I'm only playing around. I can hear you.
Okay. I go a little longer tonight, ladies and gentlemen.
No, don't do that, Matt. Don't do that.
We're gonna look into the service that you recommended. I'm actually gonna call my internet provider and I'm gonna tell them, listen, I don't care if you can put 19 routers in my house, because I mean, you know what, dude? I was really happy that you said that you would come on, because I'm like, this guy's not gonna come on my live. He's like, yeah, I'll do it. I'm like, all right.
Dude, I'm all about energy. You know, my son said it best. Like, if you don't ask, the answer is always no. And the fact that you ask, I'm like, yeah, let's do it. I love your energy, Matt. And Lee, I love your energy as well, man. I didn't know you at the time. But Matt, I love that you're just a straight shooter. Like, I don't give a shit what people think about me. I love Jesus. I cuss a little bit. And I love people, you know. I mean, that's just the way that I am. I don't care what you think about me. I'm not into clicks. I don't network a lot. I'm just not good at it. I can work a room like no other, but ask me to call you back. If you're not in my CRM or on my triple ripple follow-up, I'm just not good at it, man.
Well, I'm in your cell phone, so I don't give a shit about it. I don't give a shit about anybody else. Listen, so let me ask you a question. How old are your kids right now?
So I've got two. I've got a daughter that's 23, and then my boy is 10.
So your 10-year-old son has $1 million business?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's nuts.
Yeah, I've been blessed. We worked with Matt and Caleb Maddox, and Caleb and him have worked together to put together some coaching things for kids and stuff like that. So yeah, it's been really cool.
Believe it or not, I actually know them very well.
Oh, do you? Very cool. Yeah, Matt and I have known each other since I was like 7.
What?
Like when he was preaching back in like the cult-like religion, that's where I grew up in.
That's too funny. Next time you talk to him, say, yo, I said, tell Marinov, so what's up?
Yeah, we'll do. We'll do for sure.
All right, so 10 to 23-year-old. Oh, we got the two kids there. All right, let's get back to it. So the host, how did you get into wholesaling?
Yeah, so Matt, I don't know if you heard me. Can you hear me, guys?
Yeah.
Okay. You froze there for a second. I got worried. Yeah, so I was staying in a 1-bedroom apartment, like just starting to get back on my feet. And I was at the library. I'll never forget. I was at the library because I didn't have internet. I didn't have a TV. I was literally just getting back on my feet. And I had found wholesaling by way of YouTube. I had a YouTube ad retarget me. And I watched like 2 or 3 videos. Don't even know who it was. Don't really care. I watched 2 or 3 videos, and I just took action. I'm like, wait a minute. There's people in crappy situations that can't afford to fix their house up. They sell it with the realtor. I just started connecting the dots. They're going to lose money, but if they took a cash offer, they'd break even and it'd be a lot faster and smoother. I can articulate that. Let me have a conversation. So I just started calling for sale by owners. That's where I started, was for sale by owners, and then a very strategic way of posting in Facebook social media groups. And I didn't have any money. You know, I was just getting back on my feet. I had like $32 to my name, I think, in my bank account at the time. I had a few months of free rent on this promo that an apartment complex gave me. And I ended up contracting my first month. I contracted 23 houses.
Wow.
I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I ended up closing 9 of those deals by just networking and trying to find buyers and posting in buyers groups. And I didn't really go to meetups. I didn't even know that real estate meetups were a thing at the time. And just started putting them back out. I got them on this social media platform. I put them over on Craigslist. I got them on Craigslist. I put them over on Facebook, right? In my head, I'm like, oh, they're not going to communicate. Well, 9 out of 23 closed. The other half, more than half, failed because people seen my property marketing, or it just wasn't a deal because I didn't know my numbers. Well,
Bryce, this is your first 30 days.
Yeah, my first 30 days.
Wow. Holy mackerel.
Yeah, and so it boiled down to that 5-step conversation that I often talk about when I'm speaking, at events. And I just had a better conversation than the realtors that are, calling FSBOs all day long, and the other investors that are trying to have a better conversation. And so 23 to 9 closed the first month. And then there was like this lapse because I didn't know what the heck I was doing on the back end of the wholesale deal. And so I started reaching out to other companies. I'm like, hey, how do you do this? How do you do that? And I ran into a company here in Dallas that was marketing for an acquisition manager position. They put me through the gauntlet. I got hired. And just like I have always done with past coaching and consulting clients in the corporate world, I went ahead and took the job pending a consult agreement. They didn't really like that. They weren't very happy with me. They wasted a bunch of time, they felt. I went through and balked them through the interview. They were pissed. And they're like, let us think about it. They called me back like a week and a half, 2 weeks later. And they're like, listen, if you can do what you did your first month, we'll consider a consult, but you've got to meet or exceed that. And I'm like, well, I don't want to just work with you. Or work for you. I want to work with you. And this is kind of what my thought is, because I can go out and close 8 or 9 deals a month. I'm going to make really good money and I'll figure it out, or we can do it together. And that sales presentation boiled down to they were pretty pissed off. We butted heads. They called me back 2 weeks later and basically said, if you could do it again, we'll make you a minority partner. Well, wouldn't you know, my second full month, which would really be like 2.5, 3 months in the business, my second full month of actually out there grinding, hitting the phones and doing what I did, I contracted 37 houses and we closed 33 of them. I was hooked. Never made as much money as fast anywhere else in any other sales cycle that I had been a part of. I was in. That's when I knew that I would make a bunch of money in real estate, and I never looked back. You fast forward 10 years, I personally haven't done a deal. Well, I take that back. I just did a pretty big deal last week, but actually wholesaling on the phone from front to back, I personally haven't done a deal in about 1.5 years. And I still hold about a 48 to 49 deal transaction to close average per month, because I was averaging about 75 deals a month with my former partner. So been super blessed just to figure it out, dial in the systems and the processes.
Pretty interesting stuff.
So you see people, is that okay, Matt? You see people getting into the industry. What do you think? What do you think some of the common mistakes are? What are things that people should avoid? Because we're hearing about your passion, enthusiasm, and your success, but I think that people want to understand what are some mistakes that you see.
Guys, hold on one sec. We'll be right back after this commercial. Hold on.
His energy, you can tell he's real. There's no BS talk.
Listening to Matthew Marinoff for a good amount of time, like a light bulb went off. I was like, wait a minute, I've got to learn more about that short sale process. What is one thing that really stuck out in your mind that you learned that you may not have
known prior to coming today?
Everything.
It's cool to actually see people's body language change throughout the course of the day. You know, their arms were crossed, now they're wide open, they're laughing.
And we're back, guys. We are back. Lee, go ahead. Ask your question again.
Yeah, so we were talking about some of your successes and your process and how you got started so quickly. But I think some of the people tonight want to understand what some of the mistakes are that you see in the industry as people get started.
Yeah, that's a great question, and perfect timing. I needed a drink of water, so thank you, Matt. I appreciate that. with the commercial there, I think the number one mistake that anyone makes, whether it's short sale like what you guys teach, or it's wholesaling, or it's a realtor, or it's a mortgage lender, or anybody in any business, is the lack of attention to the income producing activities. I mean, you can go to 1 million networking events. You can put 1 million bandit signs out. You can do 1 million of this and 1 million of that. But if you're not doing something to generate revenue for your business first, you're going to fail. You're going to fail. And so I look at those income producing activities a little differently, and it's prospecting and marketing. It's like, how am I lead gen? How am I generating leads? And I'm not talking about buying a list. I'm not talking about going to networking events and finding buyers and finding their criteria and then going to look for those properties. That's a waste of time. We know that we want to deal with motivated sellers, whether it's for a wholesale or a short sale transaction. Why in the hell aren't we just talking to people? That's the number one mistake. People fail to just talk to people that are homeowners that may be in a distressed situation, in my opinion.
Yeah. So their audience, they have a misplaced audience, essentially.
Exactly.
Yeah. I love it. Yeah. It's great advice. Great advice.
Bryce, how do you measure your success?
That's a great question. You know, I measure success by the results that show up. And, you know, whether that's goal setting and hitting or surpassing or maybe missing that mark, or it's someone else's goal when I'm coaching and we hit or miss or exceed that mark. It's, you know, the name of my business is REI Results, right? Like REI Results, it's the name of my business. My measure of success is the level of results that are produced. Hands down. It's, you know, is it $100 million? Is it 50 million, 10 million, 1 million? That's going to vary upon the person that's actually in the box, in the deal, in the business. I mean, I've had the penthouse suite. I've had the downtown condo. Hell, I moved into a $700,000 house that I bought for $300,000. It was a cash divorce lead. I'm good. I don't care about that stuff no more. You know, I get to vacation 12 times out of the year and travel and speak and work and teach with some of the greatest minds in the world. To me, I've hit that level of success. And for me, like when I look at that, it's like, I don't feel any different from when I was hustling on the street. The difference I feel is inside now. And I realize the people around me are winning. You know, I left my partnership that I talked about earlier. I left that partnership 3 years ago. It'll be 3 years in October. Literally walked away from a $100 million operation to be like, these guys just don't get it. I've got a bigger impact I can make and change more lives and help more people if I go this way. And I walked away from it. And it's been the best thing I could have done. I mean, we built an organization, $100+ million organization with 7 or 8 people. We're up to 40 employees in 3 years and duplicate in 5 markets. We'll be in 15 markets by the end of the year. What's really cool about that, in my opinion, is that those other markets are strategic partnerships that I'm just a 50-50 owner in, and I get to help somebody start their business and be uber successful. That's a really cool feeling for me and a huge measure of success when I look at the results that we're getting for other people, whether it's my homeowners, my buyers, or the partners that I work with.
It
Bryce,
sounds. Go ahead, Matt.
Bryce, how much money in the past or now would you say you've spent in advertising?
Whew.
In real estate?
In real estate, I can tell you the last 3 years of that 5.5-year partnership, the last 3 years, we were spending a little over $100,000 a month.
A month?
Now, yeah, per month. Now we're shooting, we've got everything dialed in and laser focused and duplicated in a much better, precise team. Right now we're spending about $35,000 a month in marketing and doing the same thing we were doing, spending $100,000.
What do you think it was that took you difference between, because it's about $70,000 difference a month. Yeah. That's over, it's close to $1 million a year you're shaving off. So yeah. What would you contribute the difference of? Because, you know, there's a lot of people that watch this show and rely on the content that we're providing. So what kind of golden nuggets can you provide for that? Because that's a huge difference in marketing.
Mastery. That's the key. Mastery. You've got a coach here in this group that's done thousands of transactions and who knows how many between the two of you, right? Like studying the masters. And I know that, you know, when Tony Robbins hired me to teach sales and persuasion, I've got something. So I study myself when it comes to the conversation that I have with people when I'm presenting or pitching from stage versus when I'm talking to a seller. So I study myself and then I study others in my industry to see if I can get better. So the answer that I can give you is just mastery. Study the master. Study those that are in the industry that you want to be in and do what they do so you don't have to make the mistakes that they've already made. And then once you've understood that, then start adding systems. I mean, people come into my office and it's literally like, come to my house. I've got a 5-story building downtown Dallas in the middle of uptown, you know, that thank God we own or we'd pay way too much in rent. But I don't even go to the office because my systems are so dialed in and we've been 100% virtual since the day I started because I couldn't run around the Metroplex being broke. I had to figure out the process first and then implement systems later to scale it up. And so for me, the answer is mastery and then systems implementation.
Hold on, let me piggyback on that. Yeah. COVID hits March 2019.
2020, don't push it.
2020. I feel like it's been going on for my whole life.
I know, right?
I lost a lot of hair up top. Anyway.
I get it.
Whoa, what happened? so, Lee, what the hell are you laughing at? Yeah. Son of a bitch. He looks like he's ready for Hollywood. Anyway, so COVID hits. People are panicked. Sheer panic. Fortune 500 companies, gyms, major corporations, paralyzed. People can't go to work. So when people were like, dude, you guys didn't skip a beat, Real Estate Recovery Group. And they said, no. He goes, are you still working in the office? Office? I'm 100% virtual. So I laugh when people were so paralyzed, they had nothing virtual. Now it's the reverse, where I think you're going to see a lot of companies are going to scale down their office space, and they're going to do, whereas if there was like 1,000 seats, well, maybe they might only take 200, cut up the space and put other companies inside that space and keep the rest of the people home virtual. Want to know why? Because the majority of the people that were working virtual, ironically, were working harder, smarter, but working harder. How do I say smarter? Because they're doing Zoom calls in nice shirts, and underneath, pants were optional. Yeah. And they were kicking ass on the phone because they felt comfortable because they were in an environment where there's nobody there to judge them. They didn't have Janet next door who was listening to the conversation and talk about the office gossip, and they're not interested in it. So I love the fact that people are like, dude, that's amazing. You guys are virtual and blah, blah, blah. I'm not even going to pat myself on the back. I didn't want to pay brick and mortar. I don't want to have the expensive internet, the phone lines. I don't want to have any of that stuff. I want everybody to dial in and focus on their own tasks. And if they could do their job, cool. If they can't, you're fired. It's that simple. So I think there's a lot of big businesses that are probably not going to go full steam back to brick and mortar, and they're going to have the people that they feel that they can do their work, and the production is still the same, if not better, than it was before. So COVID, I think, not only did it come into the clutch for my son, who's a senior in high school, that was worried about having so many tardies, so he'd have to repeat senior year. He goes, Dad, COVID came in the clutch. He didn't have to go back to school. But ironically, we still get letters in the mail saying your son was tardy at school today. I'm like, how are you tardy? Your laptop is in your room. Anyway, that's a little side story. So, Bryce, no, when you're saying that you guys are virtual from day one, right? I get it. And I think people are more happy when they work in an environment where they feel comfortable, and there's nobody looking on them, and there's no eyes on them, and they can focus on the task at hand. Not everybody can be home on the honor system and actually work. I'm probably the only moron that stays in his office all day, where I come out just for, pee breaks or drinks or sandwiches, whatever, and I come back, I do it. It's a special person, and I truly believe a little part of people that work the 9 to 5 have a little bit of entrepreneurial in them, but I feel like they're always worried because a lot of people are always so afraid of success. Bryce, do you agree with that?
100%. 100%. I mean, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. I mean, at the end of the day, business is best when it's efficient. And if that's the case, virtual is efficient. The lack of overhead, the fact that you're working from home, I can't control you. So now I don't have to offer you benefits. I can contract that work out. Oh, so-and-so will do it for half as much and they get to work from home. Guess who I'm going to hire? Right? So You decide to stick in your 9 to 5. Well, I'm over here like, I need a personal assistant. That's about all I need in office. You can come and hang out at my house, and heck, you can have Fridays off and work from home, and Wednesdays you can go home early because you need to pick up your kids for soccer. As long as you're ready to travel with the 2 weeks notice and show up in an event. Like for me, that's the criteria. The only person that I need that's in the brick and mortar, she comes over to my house, and one of our extra 5 bedrooms that me and my wife and son don't use is an office, And so absolutely it's inevitable. And it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when the rest of the world sees like this is the only way that business is going to be done in the future. We're all going to be working from home, working from remote destinations and or shared office spaces. I mean, the building that we own downtown right now has got 7 or 8 different businesses in it. And we're going to split it up and subdivide that out and have 14 or 15 by the end of the year, just because we know those businesses are going to downsize. And as they do and space opens up, we're going to cut it in half and sublease it out. Absolutely.
How are you working with your tenants right now? Are you having a lot of problem with tenants paying or not?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we've been super blessed because we try to stay ahead of the curve. For us, we send out letters, and we've got just over 1,100 rentals between my partner and I and our property management company that we own. And so, yeah, there's a handful of them that aren't able to make the bills, and they're trying to take advantage of the moratoriums and things like that. But even pre-COVID, we seen this coming. I mean, on the investment side, we knew something was going to happen. It wasn't a matter of if, it was a matter of when. COVID was just the gasoline on the fire to exponentially expedite that process. And so we send out newsletters every 6 months. And then, as COVID came about, we sent out, concern letters, like let us know kind of thing. And so we've been very blessed to have a tenant base that reaches out predominantly and mostly. So, I mean, there's maybe been 10 or 15 people out of those 1,000 plus rentals that have really given us a hard time. And it's like, I'm in Texas. A lot of my rentals are in Texas. And you know what they say, even though I'm from up north, I got here as fast as we could. You don't mess with Texas.
So I wanted to ask you a question, a little unrelated, if it's okay.
Yeah,
so
please.
Your passion is getting involved in these transactions, seeing them through, getting them done successfully. I mean, obviously that's your wheelhouse and you're fantastic at it, so we can see. But it also seems like you enjoy speaking and teaching. Can you talk about the relationship between, you're doing these transactions, you're handling them, you're speaking. How does that the passion of the speaking fit in to your transactions? Do you like one better than the other? Do they feed off each other? I'd like to hear a little bit about that.
Yeah, I love that question. Thank you for that, Lee. So real estate to me is just a vehicle. And if you get emotionally attached to it, even if you don't have an outlet somewhere else, if you get emotionally attached to it, you will buy into everyone's problems and you'll never be able to solve them, number one. Number two, because it's just a vehicle, I'm not emotionally attached to it. I'm emotionally attached to the lives that I've been able to change. And so I use that as my mission, my outlet, and the transactional side as the vehicle to fund that. Am I making millions of dollars in coaching? Yeah. But is it millions of dollars that's paying the bills or just covering the marketing costs because I really love the tribe and I'm seeing results? More so that. I'm not making a bunch of money coaching, and I really don't care if I do. I don't need to. But I get to take what I'm learning over here in my business and be like, how many of you have experienced this? Great, we're going to talk about it, right? Or bringing it up from a speaking engagement and just going in deep and laser coaching some high-level entrepreneurs to, dude, like we've seen that like 5 times already this year because we're doing so many transactions. This is how you overcome that. And then boom, they come back 30, 60 days later like, dude, our business is doubled. Like for me, that's what fills my cup.
How satisfying that must be. Yeah.
Exactly.
How satisfying. Yeah.
Yeah.
I suspected that, but I wanted to hear you explain it. Yeah.
Yeah, no, and I appreciate that because at the end of the day, I mean, I had a coming to Jesus moment. Whether you're a believer or not, like nobody can deny that the Bible is like the best-selling book of all time. And I found that when I study the masters, that dude Jesus is pretty gangster. And so I studied the out of him. And the fact that I did, I realized like he's got some pretty cool stuff. And so do a lot of other religions, but I don't believe in religion as much as I do a relationship with my creator. And I found that having that relationship and being able to communicate that with people and how freeing it is to get away from the brick and mortar of the church, that's my mission. And so having real estate and having a coaching program helps fuel that. And it's been really cool to see a lot of people find hope and solace in a relationship with their creator versus having to check the box to go to church on Sunday, because that's just shit. That sucks if you feel like you got to do that. I don't care who you are. Like, wake up early to go to church, to go out to lunch on the afternoon. Like, I'm showing up for lunch. That's me. So
that's great. That's good stuff. Lee, you have any other questions for this superstar guest we got tonight?
So, Bryce, you talked a little bit about those 5 tenants, and I don't know that we're going to have time for you to get into it, but if people want a deeper dive into your process and some of your kernels of business wisdom, can you tell our audience how they can educate themselves, what the best way to learn a little bit more about you, maybe get a chance to watch some of your talks? How would they do that?
Yeah, I appreciate that. So I don't know how much time you guys have. I know we had some technical difficulties. I blocked out an hour, so I've got 10 minutes. I can give you the 50,000-foot view for your audience that hasn't heard my 5 steps. I'm cool with that if you guys are okay with that.
Matt?
I would do that, but then after you do that, we've had a lot of issues with this system. So if you can go back in the comment section and maybe drop like a way where people can reach out and contact you direct.
Yeah, for sure. I can definitely do. So the quick answer is you can Google my name and find me on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. I don't handle any of that stuff. I've never really been big on the fake following. I really don't care about that stuff. It's like I have a saying or a motto, like I only work with people that are serious about working with me. And so I don't care if I have 10 million people follow me. I just don't care. I want to work with the 50 or 60 that want to actually do deals and change lives. But Bryce McKinley everywhere, or Coach Sharpen on Instagram. I don't know how to change that. So that's how tech savvy I am. But we've just recently started really exploiting, and maybe we're a little behind the times, but YouTube. We've got a YouTube channel. We got 200 or 300 followers on there. And unlike the gurus that give you like the 50,000 foot view of stuff and hope to like get you into a coaching program, like we just want to give it to you. And so like right now, our YouTube channel and our professional pages on Facebook and Instagram are really where we're focused, because we're going into how you hire an acquisition team versus just going to the next level, how you train an acquisition team, there you go. Short Salvage on Instagram.
No, that's not it. Now keep talking.
It's Coach Sharpen.
I was trying to bring you up.
There you go. Yeah, I appreciate that. And so Coach Sharpen on Instagram, and then you can see there's a website there. Highly recommend you, if you're watching this, like go to the REIResultsAcademy.com and register. We haven't really done anything with it right now because we've got an app coming out here in the next like 30 days or less. And I'll just tell you this. You want to go register at REIResultsAcademy.com because of what we're about to unleash. We've got an app coming out that you can not only do deals with us, buy deals, sell deals, but it's got a platform and social media feel to it. When we do launch it and it goes live, we've already had a couple of offers from Zillow and Redfin in excess of $10 million. So we know we have something here because it's integrated with all of the other softwares out there to do what they do times 10, like times 100. Our front end with our lead gen is going to generate leads to our users on the platform. We've got a gamification process to where you can not only learn the wholesale transaction, the fix and flip, or the short sale process when we partner and strategic partners with you guys like you, Matt, right? Like to get all of our short sale leads and things like that. And so our forward facing website is Every House, just like it sounds. We've got a solution for every house. Everyhouse.io is the techware, and then the backside of it is the REI Results Academy, and they communicate. So we generate leads on one side, we provide the leads to the other people, and then we have a network, a social media platform inside of there to where there's groups just like Facebook, there's chat just like Facebook, and then there's our courses and our programs and our coaching business all in one that we've built from scratch. And so it's really kind of cool. REIResultsAcademy.com. It's available for registration, but it's not actively live yet. But the app will be released here in the next 2-3 weeks. You don't want to miss that. So that's probably the coolest thing that's kind of coming down the pipeline. That said, I think that the number one thing that folks need to work on, no matter what side of the real estate business they're on, whether you're on the retail side and you're an agent or you're a broker or you're an investor like Matt and Lee and I, and you're looking at all different types of deals, whether it's multifamily, commercial, single family, short sale, wholesale, fix and flip, sub two, whatever it is, you need to understand and master the conversation. And I think of the conversation in 5 steps or stages. And when I think of these 5 steps or these 5 stages, I think about going and working out at the gym. Now, I'm not the most physically fit, but I've done a workout or two. And I know that the very first step when I go to the gym so that I don't pull a muscle or that I don't get hurt is just like in the conversation. I got to warm up. I got to stretch. And so step number one in every communication event is to warm up. And if you warm up with good form, you won't pull a muscle, stretch a ligament, or kill a deal. FORM to me is an acronym. It stands for family, occupation, recreation, motivation. And if you don't know how to know what someone's for, you'll never solve someone's motivation. So you want to talk about 3 to 5 things on their family. Oh, like Matt, like you married? How long you been married? What's the secret? Fantastic. Y'all got kids? Great. How many kids you got? Like, damn, I'm 5 questions in and now we're buddies. Man, that's got to be overwhelming trying to work and manage all that. What kind of work do you do? Oh, wow, you're this. How long have you been doing that? Dude, that's way above my pay grade. What does that mean? People love to talk about themselves. Man, the fact that you got all that work and all that family bogging you down, what the heck do you do for fun to get your mind off the crap? Oh, wow, you like to fish? What kind of fish do you catch? Deep sea or salt water or whatever, right? Like when you find out what people are for, you'll always solve their motivation. So step number one in every communication event is to warm up with form. Step number 2, if we're looking at this analogy of going to the gym, step number 2 for me is really kind of interesting and cool. And I think about it like this, like you don't just go into the gym and start bench pressing 300 pounds, unless you're Matt, right? Like you go in, you put 100 on, you put 125, 150, 170, you bridge the gap, right? You move the needle. Step number 2 in the conversation is no difference. You don't just like, all right, well, great. Good to know your family. Let's get down to business. Well, now they will put their walls up. So we got to bridge the gap. How do we do that? We make them feel like other people that have been in their situation. So we say something like, gosh, Lee, you know, most people I speak to want to know what we do, how we do it, but more importantly, like how much we can offer for their house. Do you have those same types of questions? And besides that, what else do you need to know to make this a win-win for you and I and the rest of the family? Now they just start talking, right? And when you do that, what happens is subconsciously in the mind, that person becomes the one that's trying to keep up with the Joneses, bridging the gap. They start to bridge the gap. Well, I want to go fast and I don't want to deal with the realtor and the showings and da. Great. Now I know how to solve your problem. Thanks. Right? You really become the doctor and start to dig into that pain. And once you've done that, what happens? Just like if you're playing baseball and you hit a home run. Well, that point don't count if you don't touch all the bases. You can't just like hit the ball and hit the home run and go back to home plate and go back to the dugout. You got to go to the bases or you could be considered out. It's no different. You warm with form, you bridge the gap, and then step 3 is what I call asking defeating questions. Defeating questions is just like when you're at the gym and you got that 150-pound bar up and you're on rep 8, rep 9, rep 10. You start to create these endorphins in someone's mind that defeats what they believe. So when they're like, oh yeah, the house is good, it's move-in ready. Oh, wow, it's move-in ready. Tell me more about that. Like, when was the last time you did any updates or upgrades to the house? I'm not going in and be like, oh, no, this looks like crap. You got to definitely do this and do that. Like most people in our industry, like making a litany list. I'm over here like, it's been 10 years. So would you agree or disagree that 2010 houses and 2021 are 2 different things? I start to challenge their beliefs and where they're at. And now when they don't believe in what they thought they did, guess what? Just like in the gym, when you don't believe in yourself, you rack the bar, you close out your set. Boom, step number 4, I get to close the deal. Now I've earned the right to close the deal because I have a solution to their doubt in themselves that solves the problem for their family. See how I did that? I went back in order. And then what happens at the gym? Do you just get up and walk out? No. You stretch out. You cool off, right? You warm down with form. Man, I'm so glad, Matt, we could get this house checked off your list tonight. Like, how are you going to go celebrate? A sub sandwich or a steak? Nice. Whatever. I warmed down.
I'm buying a house eating ramen noodles, but go ahead.
Fantastic. Ramen's always good when you're in a pinch. What kind of ramen do you like? Right? So what you didn't catch there is all 5 of those pieces, like warm up with form, bridge the gap, ask defeating questions, close the deal, warm down with form. Those are pieces of the puzzle. Right in the middle, the big win, if you're at the gym, is when you rack the bar because you got your workout in and you're done, right? It's no different. The glue that holds these puzzle pieces together in a conversation is what I call rack. Like rack at the gym, but it's RAQ. It's we repeat what was said, we assign a feeling or an emotion, and then we ask a question. Oh, wow, you're an accountant? That's exciting at this time of the year. How long have you been doing that? Notice you're an accountant. Repeat, a feeling or emotion, assign is that's exciting this time of the year. How long have you been doing that? You think some accountant that's been doing this 30 years is going to be like, oh, let's just get to the point. No, they're like, oh, I've been doing this for 30 years. You're right. This time of the year is crazy. They're just going to all over. And when they do that, all you got to do is reel them in. And that 5 steps has made me hundreds of millions of dollars over the last 20 years in business. And it's stupid simple. It really is. I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed, but I can figure out how to help people feel good, challenge their beliefs around where they think they need to be versus where they should be, and then provide a solution. And when I do that and we get to chop it up and celebrate at the end of the conversation, they come back. I just closed or contracted a deal today, a 4-property deal. This is like I think it was 22, 23, like the 22nd or 23rd transaction I've done with this guy because he just keeps coming back. He got 50 more houses we're going to be talking about next month.
I love the simplicity of the system. And it kind of takes me back to what you said when you first started talking to Matt and I about just getting out and doing it. I mean, because I think it ties into what your initial premise was, to just start to weave these into your conversations, practice with them, because obviously this is going to take people a lot of practice. But, you know, when you start to do it, it's going to yield results. I can see it.
Yeah. And Lee, you're an attorney, right?
Yeah.
Think about when you go into the courtroom. I mean, they teach you this stuff, but not the simplistics in law school. Like, this is super high level, but simplistics. Like, you walk into the courtroom and sure, there's an element of conversation, but you got to present the facts, and the facts aren't always in your favor. But when they're not, you challenge the beliefs of the other side. It's no different.
In my profession, too many people spend time worrying about the persuasive part of the business, but no one looks at the business side of law. And a lot of this is applicable, you know, because let's face it, my profession is a business too. And unless you're going to realize that, you're not going to be successful.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Well, Bryce, I appreciate you coming on tonight. I was horrified before when we had the technical difficulties, and you're like,
I know, I seen it on Facebook.
He ain't coming back, Lee.
I hope somebody screenshots that and blackmails me because it's going to be fun.
Bryce, you've been a real gentleman with a lot of patience, and we've really, I mean, the viewers tonight got so much great information. Your personal story it's incredible. I mean, I had my mouth open the entire time listening. It's really hard to believe. It's what a testament to your success.
It's my pleasure, gentlemen. Go ahead, Matt.
Well, there was 2 things I learned tonight from Lee. Lee, you had your mouth open like you were a bug zapper, and you were writing stuff. You don't ever write stuff after 6 o'clock at night. So that was pretty impressive that you were writing the shit down that Bryce was talking about. So I appreciate both of you guys coming on to the show. And Bryce, hopefully sometime soon we can have you back on in the next couple of months. If you got something that you want to share with us, I'm sure the viewers would love to watch it. But until next time, I appreciate you coming on.
It's my pleasure. Thank you guys. And if you guys are watching this and you know somebody that's in the group that needs to hear this, like tag them, put a comment down so that way other people see it in the group, and don't just absorb it for yourself. Like share it out, like it, love it, hate it. I don't care what you do, but these guys deserve a little respect because they're pouring into you. And it's been a pleasure, gentlemen. So you guys that are watching this, make sure you do all of that. Whatever you do, just don't do nothing. And Matt and Lee, you guys, I love your energy and I love what you got going on over there. And I'd love to also invite you into my group as well. So we'll talk about
I would love it. Absolutely.
Love it. Absolutely love it. Thank you.
All right, guys.
Thank you.